that this has got to be like the biggest bubble in history. Makes me a little bit nervous, which is why I'm going heavy into precious metals. What are your thoughts?
Uh, we're basically probing the edge of the universe. Is this the edge of a bubble? Yeah, I think we could throw it in that category. Yeah, it's a big one.
Welcome to Empire Precious Metals. If you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy talking about precious metals, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, get the bell notification clicked. That way you get updated with any new content. And today I have with me again Director Quentin Henney of Blue Lagoon Resources. Quentin, how are you?
I'm doing great. Pleasure to be here, Stormy.
Absolutely. I was telling people that you and I go way back. So now I've got the nickname for you, Godzilla. Do you want to share with people where the Godzilla thing came from?
Well, you can see it right there. But it's generally what I say when assays come in that are very good. It's like, yep, that's Godzilla category.
And you have got a good sense of humor. I just kind of took it, ran with it, and now I call you that. So I usually give everybody a whole bunch of different nicknames. So yours now is Godzilla for me. So there's been a lot of changes and developments since we last spoke, and I'm really excited that we are reconnecting. And I'm going to basically just kind of dive right in and just kind of pick your brain on all things precious metals. To start, there's really been a lot of developments on the world stage with regards to inflation. We got, peak globalization, commodities are surging. There have been a lot of billionaires saying that this has got to be like the biggest bubble in history. Makes me a little bit nervous, which is why I'm going heavy into precious metals. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think it's hard to deny that we're going into some. We're basically probing the edge of the universe is a better way to think about it. We don't know what's beyond, really. Is this the edge of a bubble? Yeah, I think we could throw it in that category. Yeah, it's a big one. Look, everybody's of the same mindset. I don't think I've talked to anybody lately who thinks anything right now is normal. The money that's come into people's pockets via stimulus, the rise in prices that we're all seeing. I took my wife and granddaughter out for ice cream the other day. $10 for two ice cream cones. I
Yeah,
kid you not. That's insane.
yeah, yeah. I completely agree. Housing prices are through the roof. Forget it if you're looking to do some additions to the home. My wife and I were talking about it, and then once the prices of lumber and everything just kind of skyrocketed, we said, okay, we're going to hold off on that for now. And really, it is alarming when you see that everything is up. Right, the stock market is up. Cryptocurrencies, well, those kind of took a hit, but those still, relatively speaking, are a lot higher than they were a year ago. You've got all the commodities surging, so it is very scary, to say the least. And to me,
Well,
go ahead.
it tells you that people would rather own stuff than have cash.
Yeah,
Okay, and I'll tell you, I know a lot of folks from say Argentina, Brazil, other countries where they've experienced this. In some cases multiple times. And you know what? When they got cash, when they were in an inflationary mode, when they got cash, they basically bought stuff because they knew in a few days that cash would be not worth near as much. So
yeah,
it's the same phenomena. It's just like buying toilet paper during a pandemic. Is
yeah.
it rational? No, but that's what's driving people. People are basically parking their money in anything because it's going to be a better result than having cash.
I completely agree with you. And I've had many people on my channel, experts, analysts, who've spoken to me about where they predict, precious metals, specifically gold, and where they see the prices going. And then here we just saw gold just took a beating, just last week, and silver as well. And now it's kind of regained a little bit of footing. And I'm just curious, when do you expect gold to hit new highs? Do you have any predictions?
Yeah, look, I've looked for analogs back in time. History never repeats, but it rhymes, and I've said that on other interviews that I've done recently. It's a famous saying, but it applies here. Is that you can look back at times in our history here in the United States that might be similar, but there's nothing that compares to what's going on now. Now, that said, the best that I can come up with would be the 1970s when Nixon decoupled us from gold. Okay, the dollar was decoupled from the gold in 1971. In fact, it was August 15th, 1971. All right, now what happened? Well, gold took off like a rocket there for a period. For about, I believe, about a year, it escalated. I think it topped out around $175, and it promptly came back down pretty sharply for a little while. Okay, and then it took off again.
Yeah.
And then it peaked, and then it came off a little bit, and then it took off again. And the result was it was a highly volatile decade. It landed in successively higher peaks with each gold price, until Volcker basically reined in the dollar and the interest rates and so forth back in early 1980. Okay, it peaked at $800 an ounce. So what am I saying? Well, I think we might be looking at a situation where over the next 6 or 8 years, we'll see a similar volatility, perhaps multiple peaks. That peak we had last August, that's just the first.
Yeah. Well, I forget, what did we hit? 2000? Like we just hit 2000 and then it pulled back, right?
It was a little lower. It was about 2015 thereabouts, and it pulled back. And look, that's remarkable. It's a high. It was certainly a multi-year high, probably a 10-year high almost.
Sure.
Okay, but we ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Again, and that's why I keep buying it. I mean, there's probably a little bit of a compulsion and addiction. Once you've been bit by the gold bug, you keep on going. But I agree with you, and I think there's so much more room for gold to grow. Do you see any way that the United States can slow its spending down?
I do not. There will be talk about it because that's their best defense against allowing the dollar to get out of control and so forth. But in reality, no. Every time they've tried to even for a brief moment pull in the reins a bit, it leads to catastrophic consequences. Look at the University of Michigan, consumer sentiment for July. It fell off a cliff. I mean, that tells you, okay, what people are thinking. They're thinking, my stimulus is out. What am I going to do next? Well, guess what's going to come later this year?
Right. Now, you bring up a lot of good points with a lot of the uncertainty. The whole, spending is really kind of getting out of control. And, I agree with you that probably parking your wealth in cash isn't exactly the very best move at this juncture. And this kind of goes in line with you and your background. You've got a fascination with natural resources, and I'm kind of curious as to what got you into natural resources. I've shared my story with my viewers as to what got me into precious metals, and I'm just kind of curious as to what got you into this for your career.
When I was a kid, I grew up partly here in Colorado, spent summers with my grandparents, and my grandfather, who was a farmer, he lived here in the flats down below the mountains. He liked to go up on the weekends and take us all up, and we would go visit old mine dumps and stuff. There's a number of old gold camps just above the city I live in. And it was during that period I just absolutely fell in love with the thought that you could dig something out of the ground of value. You could go find gold in the ground. And I then went on to work in a small underground mine here in Colorado, starting at age of 16. I worked underground during high school, during the summers, and then when I went into college, I decided I'm going to focus on geology. I had a passion for the rocks themselves. And so I went into geology and worked for a number of mining companies throughout my college years, and then went on to work for mining companies after.
Man, so you've been at this for a while. I mean, it's interesting that you've been into this since a kid, right? Something with your experience during your childhood, it stuck with you, and for you to have carried that on throughout your entire life. I've made a couple of career changes. I'm 42. So it's interesting to see that something like that was so profound and it kind of just stuck with you. Um, there last time we spoke too, you were involved and you still are with another company, and recently you've been advising Blue Lagoon Resources. I've got the ticker BLAGF down below. I'm kind of curious as to your chief reasons for making that call. How do you plan to be active with the progress of this particular company? Because I've had Rana Vig on my channel a couple of times. So what caught your eye?
Hey, let me explain. I've made some life changes here recently. These were announced over the past week or so. And although I'm sticking with several companies as director, I am actually making a shift towards the investment side of the industry.
Okay.
I've been advising on an informal basis, advising Prescat Capital, which is a fund here in Denver. And they're very dedicated to investing in the precious metal space. Their macro economic thesis is basically conducive for investing in precious metal. They kind of see a lot of the things we just talked about. And these guys are very supportive of my efforts to find good investments.
Mm-hmm.
So I am actually, I'll call it advisor to a strategic shareholder in Blue Lagoon. And what caught my attention when I reviewed Blue Lagoon, look, I'll be blunt. When they first came to me, the pitch was, "Hey, we're going to put in a little mine here. We've got a property that's been private for many years, and lo and behold, it's got certain permits and stuff that allow us to go into production right away." Interesting, but it's not my cup of tea. Everybody that knows me knows I like exploration.
Right.
And so I listened to their story for a while, but then I said, well, let's talk about the geology. And after they presented the geology to me, I was dead convinced that this property, which really has been offline, it's not been part of the, we'll call it collective, geological experience in the exploration world for the past few decades. It's been in private hands. Anyway, this project demonstrates some certain attributes that I look for that tell me it could be a big high-grade gold system. It has very high grades of gold in veins, and it's closely associated with magmas that came up a long time ago. These magmas happen to be rich in alkaline metals, and they form what are called monzonites. So this is a gold system closely tied to monzonites, but it also has certain minerals that are associated with the gold, namely carbonates and base metals. They tell me this is a carbonate base metal gold system. There are a few examples of these around the world. There's probably a handful of them, maybe 15 of them around the planet. And when you find them, they tend to be big, they tend to be high grade, and they tend to be desirable for major mining companies. And that's what I'm interested in. I want to see this company explore this system and come up with a large, very high grade, very high, potentially high margin gold deposit.
So let me ask you before we start wrapping up, because I know when I last spoke to Rana, the company was very close to pulling material out of the ground, if I'm not mistaken, and then just recently started to pull the material out of the ground. And I know that everybody has got to be really excited about that movement. Let me ask you, what's the most beneficial thing that you can see for Blue Lagoon, which can make it take its market cap higher than what it is right now?
Yeah, look, the production story, they're going to progress that for to its fruition. Hopefully, they produce enough and it's at a reasonable margin that they actually make some money. That's a great outcome.
Yeah.
But what I think is going to drive the value going forward will be the exploration side. I think if they drill this thing and tackle the exploration in a meaningful way, I think you'll see this become, like I said, a major new high-grade gold discovery, one that'll get a lot of attention. And large high-grade gold discoveries are in incredible demand right now. I mean, these are the kind of systems that the major mining companies want. So that's going to add the most value to Blue Lagoon.
Well, fingers crossed. I told Rana Vig that, once you start pulling lots of gold out of the ground, that he has to send me a 10-ounce gold bar. So he's like, I don't know. He's like, we'll see. But Director Quinton Hennigh, I really do appreciate your time today. I have the information down below in the description for my viewers to check out Blue Lagoon Resources, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you again real soon.
Thank you, Stormy.
And I would like to quickly thank these elite channel supporters. And if you haven't already become a channel member, please check out the awesome perks and join today. With that, this is Empire Precious Metals. Until next time, long live the Empire.